friends, welcome back to the Tabletop Tavern. Welcome to episode 4, Songs from the Sea of Trees. It's so good to see all of you and have all of you here. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Jenny. I will be your DM for this adventure, and I'd like to give my players a chance to go ahead and introduce themselves as well, for those of you who may not be familiar.
My name is Victoria. I will be playing Leon LaBelle.
My name is Ryan Lovegood, and I will be playing Galen Wayfair.
I guess I'll go next. I am Doa Deer, and I am playing Gris Littlefoot.
You're muted, Pippin, you're muted.
I'm Pippin. I'm Pippin. I'm playing Ariadne and Kylte, and we're both dumbasses.
All right, so I'm just gonna go over what happened in episode 3 real fast, just in case you don't remember. When last we left off, our heroes had rescued the beautiful Leon LaBelle from the grips of the noble Gabriel Lineros and his compatriots. Fleeing from the manor where they had left the bodies of Leon's captors behind, they found themselves at the library of Freylin, where the party sought answers to the secrets of the dead man walking, and Leon looked for information about a mysterious figure from her past. With the assistance of the Bard's College's librarian Valdithus, Gris and Ariadne found potential answers in a book of traditional songs of the Wood Elves, and Leon and Galen, in an unlikely and largely unwilling show of cooperation, uncovered potential ties between Leon's family and the history of Creylin itself. When last we left off, our party was actually split, with Ari and Gris looking over a large tome of traditional songs, and Galen and Leon had just reshelved Leon's the book that Leon had borrowed about the history of the world. So there's about 400 feet between them right now. So just some context here, any interactions will be between groups of 2 right now.
So I think Galen and I were in the process of heading back towards Gris and Ari. So if I recall correctly, Leon was like mumbling under her breath, like, as if anything can go right, first I try to get killed, then I don't get any answers about my family, and I'm just like mumbling to myself. And I feel like Leon's going to reshelve the book and then just head directly towards Gris and Ari. Probably saying, like, over her shoulder to Galen, like, we should really go back to them and figure out if they found anything about this dead man that we need to find.
So you guys are walking together?
Yeah, I would say so. I would say we just walk directly towards them.
So you're walking towards them. Galen, do you have anything you want to say? Or are you just following library voice?
Following with my library voice.
Perfect.
So about how far away can we hear? Oh my God, Gris and Ari.
So wait, the last time we had ended, I had just read this aloud to Ari.
Yeah.
So I guess at that point, I had kind of like looked up across the library and kind of in shock. And so I think at that point, it would make sense for me to maybe notice the 2 of you making your way on over. So you might read that kind of shocked expression as I look up, and then kind of back at Ariadne and say, "The dreamer. I think I know the dreamer."
So Leon sees the panic from a distance and like ramps up her walking because she's like, why is there panic happening? I leave for 2 seconds and Gris is panicking. What is going on? So Leon picks up the pace. And then I guess, like, do you want to say anything before I get in earshot, Ari?
I am probably still just a little bit confused, but because I think perhaps I recognize this. Do I not, Jenny?
You do. this is a song that was traditionally sang to children in your village, to keep them from sleeping in too late. It was sort of like a warning about the dangers of sleeping in past noon and how that could cause the end of the world. Or at least that's kind of how you interpreted it.
How I interpreted it. Great. Then I've not noticed them coming this way, but to oblivious. To answer Gris is like, oh well, that's not very useful then, is it?
Not very useful.
It's a children's rhyme.
A children's rhyme? You've heard this before?
Of course I have. Oh, most wood elves have, at least in the Sea of Trees.
What do you mean it's a children's rhyme? I think this
from where I grew up, okay?
So...
It's not important, is my point.
It reads like a prophecy.
It's just to scare kids.
So I think after all of this, Gris...
So Leon's barreling over. At what point... Oh, no, you go.
Oh, I was going to say Gris probably deflates at hearing that this is just a mere children's rhyme.
So you probably would have caught just the line, it's just a children's rhyme. It's just a children's rhyme. It's kind of like where you would have been able to hear them talking.
So Leon storms over and she looks at the both of them and she says, "Yes, I saw your face. Did you find something? Did you find something?"
Well,
no, not really. I'm sorry. What about you?
Gris, did you... Sounds like you found something.
I thought I found something that made sense for something else, but turns out it's just a children's rhyme. So
what were you...
What is it? What is it? What is it?
Gris, what were you hoping for it to be?
An answer to the reason I left my home, truthfully. I think I mentioned...
So Leon is like, what is that, Gris?
I think I mentioned that I came from a place called Dreamer's Grove. Maybe you remember? Well,
yeah.
Dreamer's Grove is a particular druidic village that, you know, kind of works under the circle of dreams. That's our primary focus. It's a smaller village, and the elders in our village teach, you know, younger students or children who seem to have a gift how to dreamwalk. And the first line really kind of hit home for me. Because...
Wait, is that what you think happened to the guy back in Alis?
No, I think that's what happened to my husband.
Oh, I'm very sorry to hear that. Did you ever find him?
Well, my husband is found. He exists. He's alive.
Oh, goodness, that's good. Leon's like panicking for a moment, like, what happened to your husband?
So my husband is a well-known dreamwalker back in Dreamer's Grove. And before I came here, there was kind of an event that happened, and you know, all the dreamwalkers were getting together to kind of figure out what was going awry with some weather. So they walked into the dream world and were hoping to commune closer to our gods and to understand what the old gods were, you know, worried about, because it seemed like the gods were angry. We wanted to figure out how to solve that problem. Right. And so my husband, Reese, was one of the dreamwalkers who was part of that circle. And I was cooking mushroom stew, and his brother came to find me, and he never came out of the dream state.
Oh, yes. I'm so sorry.
I've
now called you Doe twice today.
Okay. Doe and Gris are the same.
I don't really have words to give Gris, but I just like reach out and like put my hand over hers and kind of squeeze it. I'm like, don't make eye contact, but I'm like, sorry. Like, sorry, squeeze.
Leon kind of like walks over and like puts her hand on her shoulder. She's like, Gris, I am so sorry. I am so sorry. Like, Leon's like having trouble processing that this like sweet, positive angel, just like pure individual, has like dealt with like so much strife and just like hasn't said anything about it. She's like, I'm so sorry, Gris. Is this what you think happened to the person in Alis?
I mean, it makes sense based on what the old cleric said a little bit. She did mention dreamwalking. I haven't really put it together. I apologize. My entire journey has been focused on trying to find someone of whom we talk about a lot back in the village. Another dreamwalker who was once part of the elder clan of dreamwalkers, and who is kind of a children's tale, kind of like this song, Ari.
Well, just because it's a children's tale doesn't mean there might not be truth to it. You know how elves like to recycle things.
Well, that's the thing. I've never. This is my first time leaving my village. I've never left Dreamer's Grove.
Leon agrees with like Leon doesn't know a ton about like elven anything, but she was educated on like history and whatnot, and she goes, yeah, there were absolutely stories that I was told as a child that have to be at least semi-loosely based on something true at some point there after. It's kind of like a game of telephone, so what could be it can be true and a children's story at the same time.
So I have to know, is Galen just standing there watching this happen? Has he had any reaction to Gris like bearing her soul, or is he just like oh?
He's kind of just like he's kind of just standing there and sort of just like absorbing it and taking it in, because he's experienced things in his life that are sort of similar but not quite to this level. So he doesn't really feel that it's appropriate to say anything, so he's kind of just taking mental notes.
All right, sick. Sorry. Go on.
So I think I was talking more about this person that Gris was seeking.
Yes.
So back in character. He was kind of a legend. He was one of the best dreamwalkers our village had ever seen. He was notoriously adept at going in and out of realms, at communing with the gods, at learning things that none of us were ever able to learn. But he also crossed some lines. And after the elders got together, they made a decision to exile him. Supposedly he was around when I was a child, well, when we were both children, when Reese and I were both children, but I don't really recall knowing him. But I've heard rumor of him, and at this point, I think he's my only hope. I've spent months and months searching for a remedy and a spell, something herbal, anything, and I've been digging through Reese's journal, hoping to find something, because he always seemed like he was searching for something more, and I'm worried that Reese went too far.
At this point,
oh no, you go, Jenny.
Y'all are kind of very invested in this conversation, and you don't notice Valdithus sort of walk up behind you all until he clears his throat in an attempt to sort of get your attention.
Galen pulls his knife, just out of reaction.
Valdithus kind of looks taken aback at this reaction and is like, well, there's no need for that. I was simply going to ask if there's anything else I could assist you with.
Oh, sorry. And sheaths his knife and kind of just looks at the ground, embarrassed.
He
points.
awkwardly pats Galen on the shoulder in an expression of like, it's okay, and crouches down next to Gris, and he says, Have you found what you're looking for?
Is this what you meant me to find? For me to find a child song, or does this really? I feel like it's more. Do you have any idea?
He sort of smiles and he's like, well, this isn't a song I grew up with, but perhaps there are those who are more familiar with it. And he sort of looks pointedly at Ari and goes, who could tell you more about its meaning? Perhaps there's some place you could find them. And at that point, he sort of stands and brushes off his robes and walks away as if everything he has to say has been said.
Would we have just noticed that? Or can I roll a perception check to see if I noticed that?
I mean, he just sort of stands up and walks away. You know, he very purposefully turns on his heel and walks away from you. Starts to walk away from you.
So Leon oh no, you go, Ari.
I was just gonna say, at this point, not really saying anything, doing my best to keep looking confused while taking very possibly noticeably measured breaths, just like a little too even, if you know what I mean.
Yo, can Gris sense this?
Roll a perception check.
Because I'm gonna roll a perception check as well.
I'm probably.
Would you all like to roll a perception check on this?
Yes, I would.
Yeah.
17.
17 plus 3, 20.
Mine showed as 17, but it registered as 3, so 3 plus 2, 5.
All right, so we're gonna start with Leon. You're just standing there like, what was he talking about? Galen, Gris, you both notice that
I'm
Ari
wrapped up in my other shit.
appears to be trying to prevent themselves from having a panic attack in the library.
So I think at this point, Gris has really taken what Vidithia said to heart and kind of pushes the book towards Pip and just gestures wildly at it. What do you know? It's my husband. I need to know. Ari, please.
I don't know anything. Gris, I'm sorry.
He said you knew more. Do you know
He said
someone?
he said I would know the people who knew more.
Well, then take me to those people. This is life or death. He's sitting in his bed. He's not with
my home,
Gris.
I can't go home.
You can't
Leon,
go
puts
home.
her hands, between the two of them and is like, okay. Ari, why can't you go home?
That's none of your business. I just can't. I can point it out to you, but that's as bad as much as I can do.
Can I roll a persuasion check situation?
First, I want to know
try and persuade Ari to tell me.
Galen's making some faces. I kind of want to know what Galen is going to say.
Galen's just excited that there's some sort of internal conflict happening.
Okay, I thought that he had some kind of I'm
plan.
gonna appeal emotionally to Ari. I'm putting pieces. No, okay.
Thanks for your emotional action.
You can roll a persuasion check.
Want to try and persuade Ari to at least tell me a little bit more.
Ari, let's get a intelligence saving throw.
Okay.
Not saving throw. I'm sorry. Check. Saving throw would only be for a charm person.
Give me a second. It's 5.
Mine is an 8 plus 5, so 13.
All right. So, Vic, would you like to make this very enticing appeal to Ari for more information?
So, Leon looks at Ari. She says, listen, Ari, I understand this is very clearly a sensitive subject for you. I'm not really sure what's going on. I think there's a lot that we don't necessarily know about each other at this point. However, Gris's husband is gone, and Vidithis just said that you know people who might know something to help Gris.
Ooh,
so,
that was a mistake.
what can you do to help us in that regard? And I know there's obviously something going on. Why can't you go home? Like what is going on here? How can we help get everybody what they need?
I'll go. Please shut up.
Lovely. Thank you. Thank you.
I just turn to Gris. I go, I will take you there. And no farther.
I understand. Ariadne. Thank you.
Don't think I don't understand your pain. I want to help. I do. I'm just limited in my abilities.
We all have demons. I appreciate any help you can give us. Or me. Or us.
So Leon says, okay, you know where we need to go? We need to sleep first, though. It's been far too long. I think we're all a little bit on edge, okay? It's been multiple nights. I haven't seen a bed in like 3
me a bed.
Yes. Thank you, Galen. On the same page. I want a nice inn. I'm going to ask Vidithus if we can take that book.
I want a nice drink.
I would like a tree.
We're gonna find an inn with a bed. That's what we're gonna
Ariadne,
do, Gris.
didn't I see you filling up your wineskin last night? Don't you have something to drink?
You can get a drink.
Not something
right
to
now.
share, Galen.
I wasn't asking for a pint. You know, I'm just saying if you wanted to drink,
Don't argue.
I turned to like just turn my pack away from him and his sticky fingers.
At this point, Vidithus has arrived again, having heard Leon say his name with his notoriously good hearing. And he says, can I help you?
Do you know where an inn is?
Would like exactly. And can we have this book?
He sort of looks from Leon to Galen, to Leon to Galen, to the book, to Leon to Galen, to Gris, to the book, to Leon to Galen, to Gris, to Galen, and then he goes, well,
perhaps.
This is a library. The books are not meant to be taken. However, and he sort of puts one hand on the book and just rips out the page with the song on it, folds it up, and hands it to Gris.
I was gonna offer to copy it, Vidithus,
and is like, no matter. As for inns, he sort of stops to think for a moment, and he rubs his chin thoughtfully. The chaotic man who just ripped this page out of the book gone in favor once more of the calm, intelligent, wise librarian, and sort of thinks for a second, and he goes, the Meadowlark is quite good. I know the owner. She's wonderful.
Perfect. That sounds great.
It'll be...
Can you point us in the right direction?
It's right by the entrance gates. You can't miss it. And he sort of looks forlornly at this book that he has destroyed in haste and takes it and folds it up and goes, thank you for visiting our library. Please feel free to seek our knowledge whenever you need it. And begins to walk away to reshelve this book that he's destroyed.
I don't know about you, but that thank you felt very hollow.
Gris is still holding the torn page in like absolute shock, but complete gratitude. And just said, well,
Leon, as Vidithus walks away, just says, thank you so much for everything.
He sort of holds up one hand in acknowledgement without turning around, like he heard you, but he's still reeling from his own desecration of one of his books.
Is there anything else on the table? Just
no.
Out of curiosity, damn. Okay, I'll still do it. I rip off a little piece of parchment from from outside my scroll case, and hiding it from the others, in Elvish at least. Just like, tell your husband I'm sorry. ... and just fold it up and just like tuck it in a like a corner of the like in a crack in the table or something.
I'm gonna go with no. I'm gonna say that only Ari notices Ari doing this. Everyone else is a little distracted by sort of gathering your things up and trying to make a move sort of towards the entrance to the town. Do you head directly to the inn?
I was gonna say, I think we proceed directly to the inn. At least Leon wants to proceed directly to the inn because she's exhausted.
Yeah.
Fair enough. I see them all being pretty eager, but I'll stay and I'll match pace with Gris and I'll uncork my wine, my no longer water skin, my wine skin, and just start sipping.
Like intoxication.
I think before we go, Gris maybe hesitates, feeling like maybe she has additional questions for Badithis, but aware that he's made a huge sacrifice and ripping out the page, and isn't quite sure if she wants to ask him her other question. So kind of like hand over satchel, finally kind of starts to follow and keep, walk alongside Ari as they head to the inn.
I just look down and offer it. I know it said it wasn't to share, but it was just to spite Galen. So if you want.
You're offering to Gris?
Yeah.
Yeah. Gris happily takes the skin and throws that shit back.
Yeah, takes it and I'm just like,
and like literally probably finishes
gives a heavy sigh together. Can we give a synchronized sigh?
You can go ahead and try.
That should work. It's fine. The delay is gonna kill us.
It's cute though.
So
all right.
Good.
So, you walk down the main street that leads directly to the gates to town, and sure enough, on your left, as you face the gates, is an inn. It's got a hand-painted sign that reads "The Meadowlark." From the outside, it seems perfectly respectable. It's clean. There are no broken windows this time, which seems like a good sign. And the door is actually propped open to let in the breeze.
Leon heads in.
All right. Does everyone follow?
Reluctantly.
Yeah.
All right. When you enter, you see that the inside is quite homey. It's fairly simple, but the floors are scrubbed clean. The walls are pristine. And there's the tables are cleared and clean. It's a clean inn, which is, by your standards so far, pretty damn good. There's a few patrons inside. They're sort of seated at the tables closest to the fire, and in front of the fire, an elf bard is performing songs that are very melancholy. They're about lost wars and lost loves and lost lives. It's pretty sort of calm and kind of sad. There's bundles of dried herbs hanging from the ceiling, and behind the bar stands a wood elf woman who smiles at you as you come in.
Leon, doing what Leon always does, immediately walks up to the wood elf woman and says, "Hello there, madam. Are you the owner of this inn? We're looking for some beds for the evening."
She smiles at you all very genuinely and says, "Oh, greetings, travelers. It's wonderful to have you here. We have available beds. May I ask, are you looking for 1 room or 4 rooms or 2 rooms?"
I would say we're looking for a room each. Yeah.
I think Gris is kind of like,
remember what happened last time?
could I share another room with Ariadne, please? Just not kind of wanting to be alone and trusting Ari at this point.
I just give
absolutely.
a quick a nod to Gris.
All right, so the woman sort of counts you up and goes, "All right, so 3 rooms then?"
I would say
Sounds
so,
good.
yes, please.
2 rooms, please.
2 rooms?
Yes.
She sort
Good
of
point. After last night, maybe that's a good idea.
she sort of looks back and forth and goes, "Okay," and takes a moment and goes, "All right, well, I'll have my husband prepare the rooms for you. In the meantime, would you like something to eat or drink?
Gris nods.
I would like a drink.
Absolutely.
I would like a
Thank you.
cheapest beer.
Ravenous.
She sort of goes behind the counter or further behind the counter and pulls out four tankards of ale and then says, I'll have my son bring along some food shortly, and smiles again sweetly and writes down some stuff on a piece of paper and goes, May I have your name, ma'am?
My name is Lady Leon
Ari.
LaBelle. And yours is?
She smiles and she goes, oh, it's very nice to meet you. My name is Griselda.
Hi there, Griselda. It's
Wait.
lovely to meet you.
Wait a minute. Galen looks back at Gris and then looks up at Griselda and back at Gris and then back at Griselda.
Gris has this face. Gris looks at
That
Griselda and says, I'm also Griselda.
The woman beams it with joy and goes, in that case, your room is free. May I ask how you heard of our inn, Griselda?
And she just kind of free. The library, Videthius told us about your inn. Told us it was rather nice.
Videthius, and this her grin grows even bigger, and she claps her hands together, and she goes, well, that is just too kind of him. Please take a seat. Your food will be out soon. And sort of runs into a back room, all springy and delighted.
Galen
I
is
love that.
visibly
Thank you so much,
uncomfortable from the
Griselda.
amount of joy that is exuding from this woman.
I just take a step back, but I'm okay with it.
Gris is still overwhelmed and shocked, but past, she's dealt with too much shit today. She is grateful. She loves other Gris.
I took half a step in front of Gris, just in case.
Gris kind of looks at Ari.
So I
and
say
says,
we should all go and kind of take a seat, right?
Yes.
Yes.
yeah,
probably.
That's what I was about to recommend. The bird seems to be singing something lovely. Let's go take a listen. I think that would be nice.
I
would say lovely depends on what your version of lovely is. I don't know if I'd agree, but if you think it's
great.
lovely, I think we should go. And yeah, it's awesome. Let's go. Leon hates sad music. So she's like,
yeah, sure, okay.
All right, so you
Oh
all
my
you all sit down at a table. It's nice. It's polished oak or something. It's quite lovely. The bard is singing, and a wood-elf belt boy who's probably in his early teens, or the equivalent thereof for elves, shows up, balancing 4 plates of what appears to be roast chicken. It seems pretty simple, but he slides it in front of all of you and sort of awkwardly goes, your rooms are ready when you're ready. And then he sort of scampers off awkwardly.
"Aw, that's so cute. I'm dead." Okay, Leon digs right in. She's hungry. She's eaten.
I think at this point, Gris is maybe listening or more focused, kind of not at what's going on at the table, and maybe thinking more about her husband and her home, but also really paying attention to what the bard is singing. Is the bard singing anything that Gris would want to hear, want to remember?
So he is singing in Elvish. He is singing songs from the Great War, which are all very sad. The elves lost a lot of territory and a lot of sort of ancestral homes during this war. So these are just real sad songs to sort of accompany your inner turmoil, you know? Lo-fi beats to cry and miss your husband too.
Lo-fi beats to miss your hubby too.
Oh goodness.
So in that case, Gris is sad and kind of picking at her plate, kind of mindlessly.
Yeah.
Is Gris eating?
A little tone deaf, but trying to connect, goes be more depressing if you understood it.
I do understand.
Because I'm just hearing all of the Elvish of the Great War and all these things.
Gris just mumbles, I do understand it, because Gris also speaks Elvish.
I do believe Galen
I believe
is the
Leon
only
is
one.
fluent.
Yeah.
Leon looks at Ari and says, "Nah, I get it."
Galen
Get
just
it.
tell that it's a sad song, and that's all he needs to know. So He's just here and he's enjoying himself
He's
somehow.
vibing. Leon notices that Gris isn't eating, and she gently places her hand on Gris's arm. She says, Gris, I need to eat. I know you don't want to. I know you've got a lot going on. No. I need you to eat, okay?
Gris kind of continues picking at her plate, and she's like, not super fond of chicken. Unless it's
Want me to ask them to bring you something else?
And she just kind of...
And that is a mushroom.
That is a mushroom!
That is a mushroom, folks. The vegans know. You want me to request something else for you? I will go and ask Griselda to bring you something else. You need to eat.
She's been far too kind. I will eat here in a minute. I just need some time to...
Galen gets up from the table and starts walking towards the back room that Griselda went into.
Griselda emerges from the back room and stands there and smiling sort of awkwardly, like, what the hell are you doing? Get back on the other side of the bar, and says, can I help you?
My friend over there needs some mushrooms. Do you have any?
The woman sort of blinks and is like...
It's important. I know it sounds really weird and strange, but she desperately needs mushrooms. I think any will do. Just please, for the love of all that is magic.
The woman holds up a hand and she goes, my dear boy, we're wood elves. Of course we have mushrooms. And sort of goes back into the back room, not allowing him to finish his sentence, and then emerges with just a plate of cooked mushrooms with maybe some salt on them, and sort of hands them to him in like a, oh my god, why did you think you had to go on and on? Of course we have these goddamn mushrooms. And then smiles again and goes, please enjoy them. They're on the house. I'm so sorry about that. Yes, my husband has finished preparing your rooms when you're ready.
Okay, thank you. And Galen kind of like gives her a side eye smug, like, you wouldn't happen to have any wander caps, would you?
The woman makes a loud sort of like noise, and she's like, I cannot believe you would even ask, and then slams the door to the back room and goes back inside.
All right, Galen turns on his heels and walks back to the table with this seemingly giant pile of mushrooms.
Were we all able to hear that?
Leon
just
was.
The conversation?
No, you can't hear it over the bar.
Because I semi-followed Galen.
Yeah.
Oh, gotcha.
Are you kidding me?
What?
Did you really just?
Come on.
I want a bed to sleep in. You not push it?
Come on. We've had a rough night.
I understand. Thank you for getting the mushrooms for Gris.
Whatever. And Galen just walks back and sort of just drops the plate of mushrooms in front of Gris and just crosses his arms.
And Gris
has a side smug on his, a smug look on his face,
Gris kind of looks down at the plate of mushrooms, eyes wide, looks up at Galen, and said, "Oh dearie, you shouldn't have," and digs in absurdly fast and throws back some of that tankard of ale.
Yeah.
And you can tell she's really happy and kind of dribbling a little, but she's just fucking content as fuck.
So Leon finishes eating and kind of looks around the table. Have you guys all finished eating as well?
Yeah.
No, I'm about halfway. I've been focused more on the tankard than the meal.
Okay. So she kind of looks around and she's like, I'm exhausted. I was almost killed last night.
So were we.
Yeah, I don't think that's conducive to a good night's rest.
Not really. Yeah. It was a nice bed for the 30 seconds I was in it. Before they kidnapped me.
They did make it for you after they kidnapped you. We found it completely.
Did they really, Ari?
Yeah, it was absolutely
made the bed after kidnapping me?
It did not look slept in.
How strange.
It was fucking
I
weird.
don't understand what that just adds a whole new level of like what the fuck.
I couldn't tell you.
I think Gris is picking at like maybe a slightly blood-soaked like part of her sleeve because she is the most battered and bruised at the moment, and says,
"We need to
"But that
sleep,
would be
guys.
nice."
We need to go sleep. Yes, let's go sleep. Let's go."
All right. So are you ready to head to your rooms?
Yes, we are
I'd
trekking.
say so, yeah.
I
Oh, go ahead.
I want to be the last one up. I want to toss a coin to the bard, and and say, if we're still here tomorrow night, please play something merrier.
The bard sort of salutes you with 2 fingers, takes the coin, slides it into his coin purse, and goes back to playing his very sad song.
I just give a very, I just turn around and leave.
All right, so
Like
you approach the young boy from earlier who's sort of awaiting you at the entrance to upstairs where the inn is, and he sort of rocks back and forth on his feet, and he's like, okay, well, my father, your rooms are, follow me, and he sort of like awkwardly scampers up the stairs.
Leon is like gently nodding at him, following him, because she's like, sweet little bean. She loves him.
I think Gris just kind of flashes a smile because it reminds her of some of the kids back home in her village. And like,
I just turn to her and go, I hope we weren't like as kids.
Plot twist, we all were.
All right, so the boy stops.
Okay, so we follow the boy.
Yeah, the boy stops in front of a door, and he sort of pushes it open, and he points at Gris and Ari, and he goes, "Okay, so this is for you," and he sort of gestures, and he's like, my name is." My name is, and he sort of he trails off, and then he looks up at both of you. Well, he's taller than Gris, but he looks up at Ari, and he goes, My name is L'Ariel. If you need anything, you can
We'll call you L'Ariel.
And then he nods sort of aggressively and it steps back out of the doorway and grabs Leon's hand, and he goes, "Miss, follow me," and takes you a few feet down the hall to another door, which he pushes open, and he looks at Galen, and he's like, "Sir, this room is for you and your wife," and sort of nods aggressively.
No, that's not.
Are we close enough to hear that?
Leon is immediately like,
no.
And that is a no from me.
No,
L'Ariel, no.
If I was close enough to hear that, I just let out a very huge laugh. Snort.
I guess, yeah, you're close enough to hear that.
I mean, you said a few feet, so.
Yeah.
So I just go and just shoot Galen a look.
And at Leon's flustered response, the boy goes, "Oh, well that's good, because I was wondering why there were 2 beds." So and he like sort of like awkwardly scampers away again.
I love him so much. Oh my god, I love him. Oh my god. Okay. So Leon walks into the room, and she immediately walks to whatever bed is furthest from the door. She goes, "That one's mine. No, it's not up for debate. I almost got killed last night. You can be the barrier between me and the door for anybody who decides to walk in and try to kill me. Okay?"
Why do you think I made us room together in the first place?
I appreciate it. Thanks for coming out. I need to sleep.
I think over in the other room.
Yeah.
Gris probably slowly walks in and kind of looks reluctantly at Art and says, I don't care. Can we just keep the window open, please?"
Fine.
I die for Gris. Yeah.
So Gris kind of walks over and starts kind of opening the window, and
yeah. what else is in the room? Just out of curiosity.
It's just 2 beds. There's a chest at the end of each of the beds, presumably for you to put your things in. A simple wooden table in the middle, right underneath the window, in between the 2 beds.
Okay.
Really no other furniture. The layout of Galen and Leon's room is the same.
Mm-hmm. All right. Then,
would you like to sleep?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But Leon's gonna like kind of like put her like purse under her head. Just in case.
I think Gris is... Oh, go ahead.
Galen sort of like walks to the opposite side of the room and pulls out a vial of this glowing golden liquid and takes a little swing of it, facing away from Leon so he doesn't give anything away. Or
I roll a perception check.
Yeah, and Galen, let's have you roll a deception check.
Okay. 15 plus 5, 20.
Mine's an 18 plus 2, 20.
Oh god, okay, roll again.
15 plus 5, 20.
That is 6 plus 2, 8.
All right. Okay. You do not notice. You're too busy sort of positioning yourself on the bed as to best guard your coins.
Okay.
Over in our room. No, sorry. Go ahead. Did you want to say something?
No, you go.
Okay. Over in our room, Gris, like, where are you at? What are you just getting ready for
I think
bed?
I'm slowly putting my satchel like kind of into the chest and maybe like taking out the torn piece of paper from the book and maybe sitting on the edge of the bed and just kind of rereading it and just kind of sitting with my thoughts for a little bit.
All right. Then I just want to lie and just sit against the whatever the backboard or the wall, it like on the bed, just like sort of crisscross applesauce, and close my eyes and just breathe. And as I'm hearing Gris just kind of like ruffle with the paper and do all these things, I just like go just barely above a whisper, just enough so that she could hear. Go like, I hope you're all right. I'm sorry I can't be of more help.
So Gris kind of hears and looks up from her page from the book and kind of turns to Ari and immediately says, "No, thank you so much for agreeing to take us to your home." And then kind of like gets up from the bed and goes to sit down on the edge of Ari's bed and kind of looks at them and says, "Do you want to talk about why you can't go back?"
Not right now, darling, but I appreciate it. I do hope you find him, you know.
And Gris just kind of nods and pats Ari's leg and kind of stands up and moves back into her bed and kind of starts to kind of situate the sheets and kind of crawl in and try and get herself as comfortable as one who is used to sleeping in lesser situations can get.
Before she dozes off, because I just going like back and forth on breathing and like saying anything at all, I just go, don't get up, but can I ask, do you miss him?
And Gris kind of just, stares up at the ceiling, I think, for a minute, just kind of thinking, and exhales kind of deeply and says, well, of course. I've known him almost my whole life. We grew up together. And he's still there. His body is laying in the bed in our home. I just can't talk to him anymore.
You have a chance to get him back. I'll do what I can to help you.
And Gris just kind of, at this point, I think looks away from the ceiling, looks over at Ariadne, and just kind of says, softly, I appreciate you. Thank you. And I hope you're right. And then kind of flips
Believe
over.
me, the hope is better than the certainty.
And then she kind of just flips over and goes to sleep.
And I close my eyes and breathe and enter trance.
All right.
Okay.
So, you all sleep a really long time. You wake up and it is morning, having gone to bed at probably mid-afternoon. You wake up and dawn is cresting the sky. The sun is shining. It is a beautiful day. You pay for the room, and the innkeep only charges you, as she said, for one room, and it turns out that the food and drinks are on the house because, and I quote, "I cannot believe Vedithus sent me such a wonderful group of people, and another Gris," and she's just super bubbly. L'Oreal sort of waves you an awkward goodbye from behind the bar, and you all set off after sort of following just a couple steps behind Ariadne, who seems to be leading the way.
So, Leone says, claps her hands together as they're walking, and she goes, "Ari, where are we going? Where are we going?"
To the Sea of Trees, vaguely.
Okay.
Gris perks up and says, "The Sea of Trees? I love the Sea of..."
I told you it was my home, Gris.
I didn't put two and two together, but it's my home too.
All right, so Ariadne leads you down this primary road that runs out of Freylin into the trees. So as you approach the forest, it becomes clear how it got its name, at least to those of you who have never seen it before. Perhaps you don't really do trees, or you're more acquainted with the actual sea. But these are ancient trees, heavy with their spring foliage, that rise like green waves on an ocean. While the northern mountains peek over their tops like a distant island on the horizon. The path beneath your feet turns from smooth white rock to hard packed dirt, and then to an overgrown path winding through thickening trees, just wide enough to fit two people shoulder to shoulder. The leaves overhead are so thick that the early afternoon sun filters through in concentrated beams, throwing dancing gold light across the countenances of the other party members. As you walk, you notice that a member of your party is beginning to walk a little bit slower than the others, actually falling behind even Gris. Galen, can I get a Constitution saving throw, please?
Okay. 13.
Galen, you sort of stumble and are overcome with a feeling of total exhaustion. You've never felt like this before, and you actually have to sit down. It feels like you can't keep standing anymore.
So he literally stumbles.
Yeah, like he kind of just falls right on his ass, and you actually have to lay backwards and just lie down.
Oh, so Gris, I think being nearest to Galen, immediately kind of hears the thud of him falling onto the hard dirt, and kind of runs over, and immediately, Mother Gris is here. And he looks down at Galen and kind of touches his forehead immediately, kind of instinctually.
Okay.
And says, "Are you okay?"
So when you touch his forehead, he is burning up. He is hot to the touch. Definitely warmer than a person should be.
Does Gris sense anything else from him other than just the heat of his forehead?
Roll a medicine check.
Will do.
As she's doing this, I just call out. I don't know if
15?
I'm not really expecting an answer. Just like, you okay?
Galen just like throws up a sarcastic like thumbs up.
Leon runs over and like kneels beside Gris and is like, "What is going on?"
I rolled
What?
a 15.
You rolled a what?
A 15. Sorry.
Nice.
All right. So from what you can tell, whatever is going on is very bad. Galen is gonna need help, and probably more help than you can provide on the road.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so Gris is kind of, touching his forehead, and as Leon comes over, she says, he's not good. He's burning up. He's absolutely on fire. I cannot help him. I don't have enough herbs on me. I cannot.
Okay.
Why?
So,
Gris,
Galen's like his breathing like is starting to get like like a little bit heavier, a little bit faster, and like
I roll a
there's
magic check.
starting to beat sweat.
All right.
I'm gonna roll a magic check to
Roll
see if
a
I sense
magic
any
check.
magic. Wait, which one is that? Arcana?
Yes.
The wrong one. That's a 6
I
plus
just
4,
do-
a 10.
This isn't magic.
Can I just do a general perception, like if it's something in the environment?
Yeah. Roll a perception check.
Perception. You got also a 6 plus 4, 10.
So you don't notice anything that might be causing this, but you do think that someone is maybe watching you. It
All right.
feels like there are eyes on you.
Oh goodness. Okay.
And as you get this feeling, someone steps out from behind one of the trees.
Leon immediately stands up.
Ooh.
Yeah. This is a wood elf. It is a grizzled, elderly woman. She actually appears to be blind.
Does Gris recognize her as the woman that gave her the
Gris
magic herb?
does recognize her as the woman that gave her the magic herb.
So I
And-
just have hand on hilt and just like
Yeah.
I'm ready.
Gris kind of like stands up and walks over to her. And since, she speaks, does she only speak Sylvan? I guess Gris will just talk to her in Sylvan and ask why she's here and tells about her friend and says that he's sick and is kind of like immediately thinking that this is maybe a situation where another herbalist can help.
This woman holds up a hand and says, "He is dying. Please let us help him." And from behind her emerge 2 more wood elves, sort of burlier looking, kind of just they look a lot stronger than this tiny elderly woman, who says, "May we take him back to our village?"
And,
Leon
and
just
Gris-
Yes, please, for the love.
You can't
Like,
take him.
Gritted
I think-
teeth. He's
So
like,
so
please.
she's speaking
but
Sylvan.
y'all can't hear her.
Oh,
So-
right.
Yeah, no.
Sorry.
Yeah.
So Gris kind of like here's
But
this
upon seeing the other 2 burly men, I just like grow closer to Gris, just like
and Gris is like,
pull
how
it
do you,
out, just like we're ready. Like,
looks up
do we need to be worried?
and Gris kind of like reaches out her arm to Ariadne and says they want to help, and then returns to the woman and speaks to her again in Sylvan and says, "How do you know he's dying? What's going on? Like, can you give me more information?"
The woman sort of waves a hand at the men who sort of go to pick Galen up. Galen, do you allow yourself to be picked up?
Picked up.
Yeah, it's unbearable at this point. Like, there's sweat just like dripping down my face. Like, I'd say like at this point, like it's literally feels like I'm burning alive from the inside out. It's so unbearably hot.
Yep. Okay. All right. So they pick him up and they sort of carry him through the trees that they just emerged from. The woman grabs Gris's hand and starts to tug her along after them.
Leon
Yeah.
follows.
I think Gris follows along, but is immediately kind of hounding her with questions like, "Where's your village? Do you have any idea what this could be? Like, what are you gonna do?" And just kind of, is just concerned.
Yeah.
Leon
But
looks at
it's,
Ari and is
um,
like, "What the fuck are they saying?"
Yeah, I return a look in kind and just go, as soon as they picked up Galen and started walking, just went like, where the fuck are you going? because you've not relayed any of this information to us.
I said that they're gonna help. That's all that matters.
No, not to me. They're wood elf.
So this this party, this unlikely triad trio sort of thing, leads you all down this path that then opens up into a clearing. And in this clearing, there's just sort of they're not even really houses. They're sort of like structures that are have leaves overhead to protect probably the occupants from the rain, and they carried Galen to a nearby one and lay him down on a wooden mat. And the woman and presumably Gris sort of kneel over him. And the woman looks at Gris and she says, "Do you have what I gave you?"
And Gris kind of stares at her, concerned and confused, and reaches into her satchel and pulls it out and says, "Of course, yeah."
She nods, and then she sort of pushes Gris's hand back into the satchel with the herb, and she goes, "Oh, good. That will not be necessary." And then she turns to one of the wood elves that accompanied her, who carried Galen, and says, "I need you to fetch the apprentice." And they leave. And so she's sort of tending to Galen, and
did she say that in common?
No, she said that in Sylvan. So Galen, you don't know what the fuck is happening. No one
So
really knows what's going on.
I just go up to Gris, who's presumably by Galen, just look between the two and just look at Gris like, "Do you want to fill us in?"
Leona's pacing. She can't stand still. She's just like pacing back and forth like, "Yes, Ari, that's a great idea. Yes, what's going on? I don't understand."
Looks up from Galen, and the woman's startled, and she's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. Galen is dying.
What?
Dying?
And she's gonna help. And they're getting the apprentice." Any questions?
Did you say no, Gris? Are you like getting the languages mixed up? Is that like a really nice way of saying he's like a little injured? Like, is that just a mix-up of verbiage? Are you getting your languages switched up? Is that what's happening here? Sometimes that happens with me and Elvish. I understand.
Liam, stop talking. You're not going to get answers to you. Stop talking.
Gris is like, "No, I speak Sylvan pretty fluently. I'm pretty sure he's dying."
Galen just glares up at
Oh
Gris
my God.
and says, "Did you say apprentice?"
That's what I was going to say. Who's an apprentice?
Gris
Why are you letting an apprentice treat Galen?
throws up her hand as if like asking
Apprentice?
for silence, and turns to the woman and says, "All right, we need more information here. The crew is getting a little uncomfortable. Understandably, they do not speak Sylvan.
I can pay for better than an apprentice. You should tell her that I can pay for better than an
Leon!"
apprentice.
And she kind of like mom voices you and like stops you in your tracks.
Leon stops immediately.
And she says, "Why are we getting the apprentice? What is he dying from? The party, my comrades, my compatriots, my crew here are a little concerned, rightfully so. And I know Galen is a little on edge since he's dying and all."
The woman pauses and tries to kind of keep track of the amount of questions you ask and goes, "I do not speak common. The apprentice speaks common." And then she says, "He should be okay. He just needs to stop."
Stop. And Gris kind of like is confused by that, but immediately turns and says, "The apprentice is going to come as a translator. They speak common. Please hold on." And then turns back to her and says, "He needs to stop."
And at this point, a young wood elf woman appears. She's quite lovely, seems very self-possessed, and she crouches down next to Galen and puts a hand on his head, and then says in common, "This won't kill you, but you should consider it a warning."
Galen is sort of just like rushing her at this point. It's like, yeah, I'm learning that now. Let's I'm on fire on the inside. It's not quite pleasant. Let's please just make it stop.
Leon leans over and says, "What won't kill him?"
The woman sort of looks up and she goes, "I'm sorry, who are you?"
My name is Lady
How
Leona
have we gone from
Bell.
this
We
will
all
kill
work
him
together.
to you were dying?
The woman sort of looks at you, like, not hugely amused or impressed by the title, and then looks to Gris and goes, "You, do you have an herb pouch on you?"
Gris immediately starts, digging through the satchel and says, "Well, of course," and starts pulling it out.
The woman pauses and goes, "Do you have water root?" You would have water root if
I was
that's
like,
what you're wondering.
Should I check my equipment? Okay. Gris kind of digs back in her bag and pulls specifically out the water root and hands it over to the apprentice.
The apprentice nods, and she sort of turns to her right and starts a small fire and begins to boil water, and then looks back at Galen and goes, "What's your name?"
My name is Galen, but that's all I'm telling you. Just please, that water isn't gonna go on me, is it?
The woman sort of ignores your question, and she goes, and how often?"
How often? Oh wait, we can't understand it yet.
No,
Was
like,
that
this is in common. This is in
Okay, I was
common.
like, was this the apprentice or the lady?
The apprentice, whose name you don't know, but you're just sort of trusting to take care of your friend.
So she just says how often. There's
how often.
But every time I go down to rest, and he's like breathing very heavily. He's like trying to remain calm, but at the same time, he's like very pissed off that this is happening.
Yeah. I'm just like, I just go and how often? What rest? What? Leon, do you know about this?
No, I don't, but I would like to. She looks at the apprentice. What is your name?
The apprentice sort of pauses and she goes, "Well, Lady Leon Lebel," and she sort of scoffs at the title again. "My name is Alex, and I am very unconcerned with your questions about my patient, sir." And she sort of
Your
turns.
Patient is our friend, and we need to know how to help him. So we need to know what's going on.
She's sort
Leon's
of
like getting firm here. She's not being nice. She's like, while you're doing that, you can tell us what's going on.
She sort of drops the root into the water that she's boiling, and she looks at Leon and she goes, "Does he have a bag with him? Any sort of personal possessions?"
Yes, he does. He turns to
his
Galen
own
and is
personal
like,
possessions and that of others.
"Where's the bag? Where's the bag?"
I think while you're doing that, Gris looks to Alex and kind of says, "What are we doing with the water root? How is this going to help?" Like she wants to know more and is kind of confused about the process a little bit.
And Alex sort of looks at you and she goes, "We're making a tea." And then she turns back to Leon and says, "May I see his things?"
Leon walks over to Galen and is like, "Show me where the bag is, point to it, but take it."
I don't know, where is it? Like at the foot of the bed? Or...
Probably like at your feet. Yeah.
Okay, so Galen just like points to the end of.
You're on a wooden mat, yeah.
Wooden mat. He just points to his feet.
Thank you. She grabs the bag and brings it right over to Alex. This is the bag. This is all of his things.
Alex
Some
sort
might
of
not be his.
rifles through it. There's some jewelry that looks like women's jewelry, most likely not his. A knife, which is odd because he has so many knives on him. And then she finds what she's looking for, which is just a large stash of tiny glass vials filled with golden liquid. She sort of scoffs and she pockets all of them, and then she goes, "That'll be enough of that. Thank you." And proceeds to sort of ladle this tea mixture that she's made into a small wooden bowl.
So Leon's standing right on over top of her. She just handed him the bag. I presume she sees her pocket these.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. No, she wasn't trying to be subtle.
Yeah. Leon immediately says, "What is that?"
And Gris jumps in and says, "Wait, you tried to give me that? Were you trying to kill me, Galen?"
What?
At the party.
You did what?
Galen just says he's
What
like,
is that?
screams. He's screaming at this point. He's just like, no, Gris.
Yes. Yes.
No.
That's what I saw you put away, isn't it?
The woman sort of interrupts them and she goes, I'm so sorry. I hate to interrupt a quarrel, but he will die if he doesn't drink this right now. This seems like a problem you can deal with later.
Okay.
And she hands the tea. Well, she sort of holds the tea over Galen's mouth and she's like, drink.
Galen like lifts his neck up, just sort of like shakily like brings the mug or cup to his lips and starts drinking the tea. He's like shaking at this point, almost. I guess like his sleeve rolls down and you can like see his skin just like glowing at this point.
Yeah, he's glowing all orangey gold. And
oh no.
Alex sort of leans back and she goes, you should be fine in a few moments. Lady Leon LaBelle. And she turns to Leon and she goes, that is called Sundrop, and I do not know where your friend got it, or why he was using it as often as he was, but he will not be doing so any longer, I trust. And she sort of like looks between all of you as if it is your fault that Galen is a grown-ass man capable of making his own decisions.
Does Leon know what Sundrop is?
Do any of us know what Sundrop
but
Ari
I do.
knows. Ari
Okay,
knows
I
what
do.
Sundrop is.
So Leon immediately responds with, what is Sundrop?
I just turned to Galen as she has like turned to Galen and go, you're a fucking idiot.
Now's
Chris
not
is
the
like,
time, Ariadne.
don't you have the tea? Just drink the tea. And Chris turns to Ariadne and says, Sundrop, what is it?
So Ari, you know that Sundrop is in small quantities used as an occasional almost antidepressant, but people aren't supposed to use it for long periods of time as it is addictive, and also it can literally set you on fire on the inside. However, it is used by medical practitioners to assist people going through rough times, but it has a large sale price on the black market.
Cool. I share this with them and just finish off with, and I'm surprised Galen didn't know better.
So does Alex say that to us?
No, so Ari told you this. Ari knows.
No,
this.
I just say everything that Jenny just explained, I share with you.
That's what I
but
wanted to
finish
make
it
sure.
off with just a pointed look at Galen, just like, so I would have thought he'd know better.
Galen, at this point, you're not feeling quite as warm on the inside. You're almost feeling a little bit stronger, a little bit better. But Alex is watching you with crossed arms, as if the moment you sit up, she's going to start yelling at you. The
Leon
old
also
woman,
crosses her
by
arms.
the way, is just sort of sitting there, smiling, sort of to herself. She can't see what's going on, but she can absolutely. She doesn't. She also does not understand common, so she's just sitting there having a grand old time.
She's vibing. She's
No thoughts,
vibing.
head empty.
Vibe check, vibing.
I think
so. Leon crosses her arms and looks at Galen. Is like, really?
I know.
That's it. She's just really.
Galen he sits up and he kind of like turns himself to so he's like his feet are on the floor, but he's still sitting on the wooden mat. And he closes his eyes and he just says, no, no, it's a problem I have. Been this bad before. And he's like taking deep breaths because wow, he literally almost died. Like and he kind of like recenters himself and he kind of just like looks around at everyone, especially the strange wood elves that just happen to appear out of nowhere. And it's just like, if you don't mind, feel like I have some talking to do with my party members here and would like some privacy, as that's a main cornerstone for my people.
Alex sort of lets out like a laugh, but grabs her mentor and sort of leads her away from the group, giving you the space you requested, but as haughtily as possible.
When did this start, Galen?
All right. So, as I'm not exactly all that I've let on to be, and
clearly,
Galen, he takes off his shirt, and on his body is just like very pale markings that kind of like go up and around his chest and then all down his arms. They're distinguishable, but they're very, very faint, almost kind of like they blend in with his skin a little bit, but not quite. And then he brushes his hair back behind one of his ears, revealing that he has ears that are of a Triton. And he's like, my mother was a human and my father was a Triton. And he gets like visibly angry. He clenches his fist because he had to mention his father. My father left me when I was young, out of nowhere. He was a good dad while he was around, but he put his damned Triton pure blood above his family and left for the plane of water to serve in the Triton Guard. And I haven't heard from him since. And it's been rough on my mother, so I just left and found myself in the city of Aquara, and I made my own friends there, and I did what I had to get by, and selling Sundrop was a big part of that. Learned how to make it, learned how to sell it at almost triple what they sell for in hospitals.
Oh my god.
Kind of like recenters himself again because his like jaw is kind of twitching and his eyes are like darting back and forth because this is like stuff that he never thought he would ever have to talk about ever again.
I think at hearing this, since Gris is still kneeling, immediately kind of like puts a hand, like a comforting hand on your arm and kind of like just nods like knowingly, and kind of like sees you in a different light after realizing that you've both kind of experienced great loss, and just kind of doesn't say much, but just kind of like nods in a knowing way.
Leon immediately obviously feels for him. She doesn't say anything other than, how can we help you? How can we help you?
Right before that, just or right after that, I don't care. Being right next to you in an attempt to kind of diffuse a little bit of the emotion, and just because not going to make it this any harder for Galen than it probably is, just like kind of lightly punches him like in the shoulder or something, and goes like, parents ain't shit.
Galen kind of just looks up at Ari,
like smiles,
and he just looks up at Ari and just says, "Don't touch me."
Is Gris still touching you?
I just chuckle and like do a sarcastic like, all right. But like I'm taking it very humorously. I'm like, yeah, okay, you say, yeah, you go ahead, you do that.
Sounds like, I'm waiting. How can we help you?
You can't bring my
Wrong
father
answer,
back,
Galen.
You can't.
Gris kind of jumps in.
Let's talk micro.
Jumps in and kind of, looks to Galen and says, I haven't lost my father, but I do know how difficult it is to lose one that you love and look up to, and to not know where they are. And I feel for you. But you're stronger than you think. And she kind of flashes him like a little smile. And then she sighs and says, plus, there's mushrooms, and pulls a couple out of her bag.
I love her.
Galen looks at Gris and says, I wasn't trying to kill you. I could tell that you were stressed and thought would have helped your mood a little bit.
And Gris just kind of stops him and says, it's okay, dearie. I'm not worried about it. I didn't take it after all. And then just kind of pats him.
How can we help with this? I'm gonna say it. I'll say it. This addiction. How can we help you overcome this and deal with it and cope?
Well,
that's what I meant, Galen. But, let me just bring your father back. That's not what I meant. I was doing the minute right
that
now.
Necromancer in A-list?
I was talking. True.
Not necessarily a necromancer, maybe.
Well, I was gonna. Yeah.
At this
that's a fair point.
Alex sort of returns very awkwardly. Obviously, can tell that this is a very heavy conversation, and she sort of crouches down once again next to Gris and slides her a few of the vials and sort of says, in Sylvan this time, there can be withdrawals, and then turns back to the party and says, not to be rude, though there's no real feeling behind it.
Mm-hmm.
Can I ask what you're doing in Wood Elf territory? And sort of looks between three of you and more or less ignores Ariadne, thinking that maybe they belong here more than their party does.
Mm-hmm.
Leon, assuming that Ari doesn't want to necessarily talk about this.
Yeah. No, being ignored is precisely what I'm trying to do.
Leon's like, we are looking for someone. Don't have a name for you. We were heading to some Wood Elf territory. We are looking for a legend. That is apparently real. So we're looking for a man.
Legend? And
yes.
she seems kind of interested, but also sort of bored. It's a very fine line to walk, and yet she's pulling it off.
Leon looks at Gris and says, you can probably explain what we're looking for far better than I can. Can you tell Alex what we're looking for?
Gris looks at Alex and says, an exiled dreamwalker from Dreamer's Grove. We don't have a name for him, but seems to be pretty powerful. Maybe.
But why would you think that he's in Wood Elf territory?
At this point, I kind of pipe up, just mumbling, just I expect you to ask me again, but I'm not really here. I'm not here for this. And give them. Is there a general? I forget if I wrote anything, but a general where I'm of my people, the small congregation of village I'm from. I don't think we ever gave it a name. Or
I don't think you gave it a name. Would you like to give it a name? Or should I come up with one?
You can come up with one. I have one brain cell, and
Okay.
It's busy being anxious.
You are looking for the village of Ariadne, or the area around the village of Ariadne.
Yeah. So I just mumble that very quietly.
Alex sort of turns to you and goes, Ariadne, what business would you have there?
We know someone who might have some more information.
About this Dreamwalker. Why would you think they would be in Ariadne? I'm assuming that's where you're from. Why would you think... Why wouldn't you know
I
that?
know for a fact that they do. It's really none of your business now, is it?
Gris kind of jumps in and just says, well, we just know that there might be information, and our friend here knows that maybe somebody might be there. It's no big deal. Can I please speak to your mentor?
The woman sort of sighs
Gris
and
pulling the manager card. Let's go.
Alex
Yes.
sighs and leaves for a second before returning with the old woman who who touches your hand very gently.
And Gris kind of grabs her hand, as they did once back in the kind of shopping district of Freylin, and kind of looks at her eyes, even though she can't see her, and says, "So about that herb."
The woman laughs and she says, "You will know when you need it. May I ask what brings you here?" But she smiles as if she already knows.
And Gris just kind of offhandedly, says, "Oh, we're searching for the Dreamwalker that was exiled from my village. Hoping he can help us."
The woman sort of narrows her sightless eyes and goes, "I don't think that's what you're looking for."
Gris kind of looks at her and kind of looks over to her party and kind of exhales and says, "Well, I guess I'm just looking for a way to bring my husband back from the Circle of Dreams."
The woman nods sort of slowly and goes, "The dreamer at the end of the world."
And Gris immediately, eyes wide, says, "You know of it?" And pulls out the paper torn from the book and kind of holds it up to her, but then realizes she can't see and kind of holds it back down and says, we found this song. Apparently a children's song, the song of the dreamer at the end of the world. What do you know of it?"
The woman smiles and she says, "I think you have everything you need." And Alex, who's been hovering, goes, "In common, the dreamer at the end of the world. That's just a children's rhyme."
And Gris kind of just smiles and squeezes the older woman's hand and says thank you in Sylvan and turns to her party. And obviously they haven't heard any of this because it's in Sylvan. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Says, "We may need to, I'm not really sure where exactly your village is, Ari, but maybe we should make a pit stop to Dreamer's Grove, since we're in the Sea of Trees."
Alex sort of ignores this interaction and goes, "You're looking for the dreamer at the end of the world? Come on, you have to know that's fake, right?" to Ari. And then goes, the whole story with the stone bed and the sleeping in the woods, that's all fake, right?
How close am I to him?
To Alex? She's like 10 feet away from you.
Oh, okay.
Galen mutters under his breath, "Even I have more emotional intelligence than that."
Mm-hmm. Does Leon hear that?
I think, are you still kind of crossing your arms staring at Galen?
Yeah, she's right beside Galen,
Okay, yeah, then you hear that.
She reacts and then immediately is stop reacting, that's unladylike, and is Galen.
Oh, come on. You don't know the story of the dreamer at the end of the world? It's not just a song, There's a whole story that goes with it.
Gris, eyes wide. A story?
Oh, yeah. Come on. You've never heard of this? All right. So it's this whole story. I can't tell it like the elders would, but it's so boring that way. Basically, there's this guy who walks to the middle of the forest and he finds this bed of stone and he lies down on it and he falls asleep, and the gods breathe some kind of words onto his bed so that he would never wake up because, I don't know, you're not supposed to sleep past noon or something. And she sort of laughs and she goes, "Anyways, I'm sorry, I was interrupting," and stands up and guides her mentor off again.
Okay. Leon is kind of I don't know whether we gained knowledge or lost knowledge from that. Not a bit of a loss, everyone. Gotta say, this is not my forte. So...
Not much of an apprentice now, is he? Now is it?
Plan? What's the plan? I don't like her. For the record, by the way, guys, I don't like her.
That's a fair assessment.
She's rude. I don't like her attitude. It's not ideal.
Chris kind of grunts and is flipping, frantically through Reese's notebook. Yeah. And she's kind of scratching her head and looking at the torn paper, and at this point she's probably sitting on the floor and things scattered about, as Gris want to do. Right. And she said, but she was actually quite helpful. yeah, about that trip to my hometown. I really think we should make that.
And Ari, all too thrilled to not get to where they were going, goes, yeah, sure, whatever you want.
But we should go to yours first. No, no,
it's not necessary. You said it was helpful, right?
It was helpful, but I still think that your person might be more helpful. But I think maybe after, at some point, we have to go to Dreamers Grove. That's all.
Let's make this logical, friends. What comes first in the trajectory? What's the furthest away?
Dreamers Grove is furthest away.
Right, so Ari, we are going to your village. Ariadne? Did I hear it correctly as Ariadne?
Yes, but before...
Wonderful. That's where we're going to go first.
Before we go there...
You agreed.
I did. No, I agreed. I would take you somewhere that could help, and I think we don't have to go to Ariadne first.
That's fine, just wherever. Let's go. You're fine, right? And she kind of turns to Galen. We'll come back to this sundrop thing later, but you're feeling okay, right?
Is there a river or a lake nearby? Something like some sort of body of water?
Yeah, probably. There's plenty of streams and brooks that run through this forest. The odds are very good that if you proceed in any one direction, you will find one in under an hour.
Okay.
Cool.
I'm gonna look for a lake.
All right.
Are you gonna tell us that you're gonna look for a lake, or you're just gonna mentally look for a lake?
Yeah, I'm fine, but I would like to look for a lake, please.
Well, I'm sure we'll come across one as we walk. There's a place that I half remember when I was living here that I think might be more useful to you.
What is half remembering, Ari?
Listen, I don't remember much about wandering here, but it was strange enough to stick out, and I think, I mean, it had words on it. It said like dreams and slumbers, and I think that might be related, and I think we can go there first.
You remember how to get us there is the real question.
Yes, it is, however, on the human side of the Sea of Trees, so we have a bit of a trek, luckily away from my hometown.
Ari's like, yes. That's fine. I think that's fine. And then if that doesn't turn out, then we can go to your village, and then we can go to the Dreamers Grove, you said it was, Gris?
Dreamers Grove?
Dreamers Grove, yeah.
And let's do that.
But the lake for Galen. He almost died, after all. Give him a lake.
Has Galen tried to stand up yet?
So are the rest of the party standing?
Yes.
Yeah,
how are you standing around Galen?
I'm right beside
Galen.
Still
pretty close to Galen.
Pippin?
I'm probably a little bit away since he told me before to get away from him.
Okay, Galen.
But like at 3 feet.
Let's have you roll a dexterity check. Actually, no, a strength check.
God damn it. Okay.
Dead.
2 + 0.
All right, so you attempt to stand up and you sort of grab onto Leon and sort of like stumble into her. Leon, do you catch him or do you let him fall?
I'm going to try and catch him.
All right, let's have you do a strength check.
Oh, God. Galen got a -1 on strength, so it ain't going to be good. I rolled a fucking nat 20, so that's a 19, baby.
All right, so
that's my first nat 20 of the game. Like, I'm talking 4 episodes. Oh my god, that feels good.
So, based off of our rules, that is a that was a critical success. So you not only catch Galen, you sort of steady him right up, and so he's sort of leaning on you for support, but he has not fallen over despite that abysmal roll for the strength check there. So you sort of steady him.
She kind of like yeah, I was gonna say she looks over to him and is like, I'll just help you until we get to the lake and then it'll be fine. Then you'll be fine, right? I can't carry you the whole way. I can't do it the whole way.
I don't want you to carry me the whole way.
Great, we're on the same page.
I think Gris is like, oh, I don't usually do this, but maybe my staff will help you gain some strength on your feet, and kind of presents her beloved staff to Galen.
I just as
Galen recognizing this as a significant amount of trust for himself, takes the staff and sort of like props himself up on it, almost like he has to really have to lean on it to stay balanced.
I'm imagining like Leon and Galen are doing like the thing in the movies where like his arm is over her shoulder, like she's got her arm like under his other arm to just like help him.
So you're like weekend at Burning.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
As I'm looking at them, presumably a little uncomfortable at the proximity they are to each other. I just go and say, well, I would help, but you told me not to touch you.
Can I clock that?
Yeah.
She's comfortable with the distance.
Roll a perception check to see how they
Should I roll one as well?
Yeah.
12 plus 3, 15.
I feel like I should, yeah. Let me roll that real quick.
Gris, if you want to roll
That's
one
an
as
18
well.
plus 2, 20.
All right.
Just don't give a fuck.
I was gonna say you have motherly instincts,
Gris
so you get a
got other
plus
shit
3
to
for
do.
this. So Leon and Galen, you both clock this. Ari is jealous. You can sense it. Like, Leon, you definitely picked up before on Ari thinking that you're cute, and you're pretty used to this. But you both clock Ari's jealousy here.
Gris is just like Galen kind of like half.
Leon's not gonna say anything.
It's just like, are you?
Leon doesn't want to make it uncomfortable. Oh. And Leon's like, Galen, and that's the end of that conversation.
At the same time. It's like, are you jealous? Kind of like the like, hey buddy, like, haha, kind of way.
And Gris kind of mutters, if I had my stuff, I would whack you with it. Come on, Ariadne, and like tugs on Ariadne and
Leon's
them out of
like,
there.
no, we're not having this conversation right now, Galen.
Fair enough. So
all right, Gris, can you guys lead the way?
Yeah, so
yeah, and like if Gris is leading me, then I like, and she's like, you don't know where you're going though, and then I like step in front of her, and I'm like,
Gris firmly believes she knows where she's going. For the record, she just so see if she is. On their way out, do they say goodbye to Alex and the elder woman?
Yeah,
or they just kind of.
If you want to, go for it. Yeah.
Leon does not.
Gris wants to.
The old woman takes Gris's hand one last time and gives it a tender but firm squeeze. And there's like genuine love in her eyes, which is very odd for a woman who's met you twice and just given you sort of cryptic messages.
And Gris kind of, says thank you, but I'm afraid I've never got your name. And then she introduces herself. I'm Gris Littlefoot.
The woman laughs and she says, "It's been nearly 400 years since I had a name, Gris Littlefoot." And gives your hand another squeeze, and then takes Alex's hand and sort of leads her away from you.
Can I try and swipe one of my Sundrop dials from...
you can make it, brother!
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. You are being carried by me with your one arm, and your other one is holding a staff.
Your strength was what, 3? No.
Yeah.
Right, but like, I could just like
you aren't there.
My hand into her pocket.
No, so
you ain't bad boy today. You are hurting. Like
so, Alex is quite a ways away from you. Gris had to walk over to them to say goodbye. Okay. So, are you all heading out in search of Ari's cryptic hint and a lake?
Yes. But lake first. We've decided.
I would say Leon and Galen are pretty far behind because she's kind of carrying him, but they're within like visual distance. Is an ideal distance.
So right now your speed is halved, Leon and Galen.
Okay.
So you all sort of you're walking. Ari is leading the way. The trees are getting thick again, and so the path is sort of winding, but as you're walking this path, you can hear a stream that seems to be following the path alongside you. And you walk further, and the trees open up into another clearing, but this is a large clearing. You can see the sky, you can see the mountains, and you discover that this stream does in fact feed into a lake.
Leon
See, I told
says,
you we would find one on the way.
Leon looks at Galen, because I presume that Ari and Gris just stumbled upon this and we're far behind, so we can just see it, but we're not quite there yet, right?
You are quite a ways behind them. You are probably, at this point, 1,000 feet behind them.
Oh, shit.
Oh, shit.
Leon wants to have a little convo with Galen first.
Okay, go for it.
I just take the time to like refill my water skin and like wash my hands.
Gris is just looking for herbs and shit and just probably chilling along the banks.
So Leon says, I can hear the stream. There's got to be a lake up ahead. But were you gonna tell me about your father? Were you gonna tell me that we kind of like maybe have a similar situation going on? Was that something you were gonna share with me, or was it just like all me sharing things and then you just like, oh yeah, no, I've got perfect life? Like, was there a plan to share that with me, or?
Yeah, I planned on it back at the inn, but apparently God's had other plans for me. We ended up here, and I had to tell everybody instead of just you.
So what, like, how, do you know where he is? Like, do you know what, like, I don't know much about Tritons. I'm sorry. I know that's not like how much does Leon know about Tritons as a noble?
As a noble, you basically equate them with mer people or sea elves. You sort of think that like, okay, they're ocean people, but they got feet. Okay. To you, they are mermaids with legs.
Okay. I haven't really come across many Tritons. I mean, like, obviously, Aelith is a port city, so there is a Triton occasionally in the city. Like, they're here sometimes, but I don't really know much about them. Like, where could he have gone? Like, why would I just... I'm just trying to understand why he would choose to leave. Maybe it's me trying to understand where my father is. I don't really know. I just want to know what's going on.
I remember I was 10 years old, and I came home one day from just playing in the woods, being a child, and our house was right on the coast of our little village, and I watched him dive into the ocean, and he upset.
You've heard nothing from him?
I don't know where he is. All my mother told me was he went to go serve in the Triton Guard, because Tritons are honor over everything. It's honor and family first before anything else, but obviously...
If it's honor and family first, then why did he leave his family?
Right. Father clearly didn't care at all.
Leon's like serving attitude, because she's like, that doesn't make sense. I don't like that. I don't like this guy. Not cool, not great. I don't, So she's like, well, maybe I could, I don't know. I mean, I have a lot of resources. Maybe once we figure out what's going on with the situation, I can help you find him. I don't know if that's what you want, but I have resources. I can probably help.
I'll be honest, it's been over 20 years. Frankly, I don't give a shit if he's alive or dead.
It's fair. I don't blame you for feeling that way.
It's hard. Because...
Oh, I appreciate that.
It drove a divide between me and my mother. And she's the only person I have left. And whenever I see her or try to converse with her, it's awkward at best.
Right.
So that's why I went away to the city. Found friends there, we'll call them.
Find that air quote offensive. So I presume we're getting closer to the lake at this point.
Yes, at this point you can see the lake.
Okay. While they're doing that,
so
oh, sorry, go ahead.
I don't know, you go. I was basically just gonna say, okay, so, well, I mean, we're here at the lake, so I'm gonna, the water's edge, is that what you need? I don't, is that what?
I hate doing
Take you to
this.
the water's edge.
I hate doing this, but it always, for some reason, makes me feel better, but I need you to just push me into the lake.
I can do that.
Leon's like, sorry, Leon's like living out her fantasy. She's like, oh yes, I get to cause Galen physical harm.
This is payback for Waterwall, is what it is.
Nice. All right. Well, as they were presumably in the time they took to catch up to us, right? Because they were 1,000 feet away. They were quite a ways away. So I filled up my water skin. I like washed my hands and stuff. And as Gris is presumably just foraging for herbs and mushrooms and herbs, I go and I catch something out of the corner. Like I see something out the corner of my eye at the base of a tree, and I just call out to Gris and go, "What's your favorite mushroom by chance?"
Gris perks up from probably whatever bush she's been digging under or near or behind, and like a freaking meerkat in meerkat manner pops up. It's like chicken of the forest.
Oh my god!
I thought that might be the case. And I walk over to the base of the tree and I pick the chicken of the forest and I just look at it very fondly and walk over to Gris and go, "I found that for you."
And Gris is just like, "Oh, I could absolutely smooch you right now, dearie." And she kind of runs over and like washes it in the creek. And it's just like, "Oh, it's beautiful. It's so wonderful." She's like, "Is it snack time? Should we have a snack?"
I just love, as she's asking all these questions, I just like laugh very softly and just go like, "Yeah, you remind me of someone. Let's have a snack. Why not?"
And Gris immediately starts washing it in the creek or the river. What kind of body of water are we next to? I've said every sort of body of water.
You're by a lake. You're
she's washing it.
Say lake.
You're like creek, river, stream, no lake involved. Okay. So I presume Galen and Leon are kind of at like the water's edge now.
Yes.
So Leon looks at Galen and says, "Can you stand up for long enough for me to push you?"
Can I? Oh, kind of benevolent DM.
Kiss my ass a little bit more. No, yeah, you can.
Okay.
Can we give them
so Leon like,
yeah, I mean, so you guys at this point, they're at the water's edge of the lake. You're sort of, you can't really hear them, but you're watching this sort of unfold from a distance.
Okay, so I haven't
you don't have
heard
the context for any of this.
Ryan. Okay.
Yeah.
So we just see them at the
Leon,
edge.
like motions. She motions. She lets go of him and she motions to him and says, "The staff. Give me the staff."
Right, and Galen hands it to her.
So Galen, at this point, you're a little unsteady again now that you don't have the staff.
Okay, just.
And Leon says, please. "Do you want a countdown? Do you want me to just do it? What are you looking for? What do you need from me?"
Please.
And so Leon pushes him. She pushes him. She's pushing him already.
Can we hear the splash or like?
Water.
So you are watching from your perspective. What you have seen is Leon brought Galen to the water's edge. She stepped away from him. She took the staff, and then she just kind of did like a running start and just shoved him as hard as she possibly could in the back.
I just start cackling and just turn to Gris and go, "Well, you can't say, wait, oh, you weren't there." But I say, you can't say he didn't have it coming.
And this can't be good. And Gris starts on her little legs, hustling across the lake, trying to catch up.
He's fine.
She pushed him in the lake.
Leon waves the staff and she's like, "He's fine. It's good. He's fine. I have your stuff. It's fine. Your staff is fine.
Dude, we can't hear, right? I just see her wildly waving my staff.
So as he's like falling, Galen like sort of points his hands like he's like diving into the water, and he hits the water and just like fucking just like takes off swimming.
That's on swimming.
He's just swimming around in the depths, and then is there like a dock or anything, or is this just like
this is just
natural
a
lake?
natural lake. Y'all just happened upon a lake.
All right, so Galen sort of, like, I guess, breaches the surface and like throws his hair back, and you can see his more Triton features become more apparent because he's been fully submerged in water. So he slicks his hair back, you can see his gills more, because he would always keep those covered up. He has webbing between his fingers. He's got some the backs of his arms. His teeth are sharpened. You know, he's kind of like, I hate this, but it's the only thing that helps me. And he kind of just dives back under the water and swims underneath, and then swims towards back towards Leon in the shore.
Okay, we just lost Vic.
We did lose Vic.
Oh no! Did we lose Vic?
Vic is back.
Vic's back. So,
There we go.
Oh no, I don't see Vic's face.
Not yet.
What? There we go. There
we
she
go.
is. Oh, she's beautiful.
My Discord had a moment.
So, yeah. So where were we? Right. Galen has breached the surface, looking like a damn shark.
Mm-hmm.
And he like throws his hair back. It's like very dramatic, you know, like he appears like you can visibly see that he feels better, like his body is like finally cooled down, like he's back to himself. His markings are like glistening from the water, sort of thing, and then he dives back down and swims towards the shore.
I just go dramatic much.
I think Gris is like jaw to the floor. I think it's probably rare that Gris has ever seen a Triton. And so just like,
Galen, did you go swimming in your clothes? Do you have dry clothes to change into?
I might
he
still have my
have the
shirt off.
clothing from the finery shop.
Right, yeah. So I did swim in my clothes, but I didn't have a shirt on because I took it off when I was in the
I forgot about. Okay, sweet.
so Gris is like jaw dropping, and she's like, so that's what he meant. And like turns to Ari, like, have you seen this? Like, is this normal? Are we simpatico?
Leon's just like, how did we not notice this? Like,
I'll be honest, I try not to
how did we
pay
not?
too much attention to Galen.
Wait, have we all caught up to each other, Jenny? Because I was running that way.
Yes. So now you are all standing on the shore next to Leon, just sort of watching Galen do his thing.
And Gris just turns to Leon. You pushed him?
He asked me. It's weird. I know. Trust me. But you know what?
In the interest of fairness, I think we should all get a turn.
That's a good point.
Just
We
gonna
should ask
cackle.
him.
It's a good. I would also like to push Galen into a lake.
As he swims towards the shore, he breaches up one more time and kind of like, sort of like, breaches up out of the water and lands on the shore, feeling like, yeah, I feel like 1,000 gold pieces right now. This feels amazing. But then he realizes, like, oh fuck, I just exposed myself to everyone here. This sucks. And then he frantically looks for his things to dry off as fast as possible.
Leon crosses her arms and goes, so, that's some fresh new information. What's this? Sorry.
If you remember in the clearing when I was being burned alive from the inside out,
Correct. I do remember that.
By your own doing. I'm my dad.
Yeah.
Galen sort of just like points at Ari and nods. Yeah,
Fair point.
that. He goes, I brushed my hair back and I showed you my ears. My father is full-blooded Triton, but my mother is human. So
Interesting.
I have Triton traits, but they're sort of mermatic in quality because of my mother's blood mixing with the Triton.
How long can you hold your breath?
Good question, Ari.
Oh my god.
And Chris is like, I thought you looked really stunning. And just kind of like hard eyes.
Is it like a dolphin type situation or like what?
Galen sort of just like points to his neck at his gills and is like, do you see these?
And how do you breathe air?
Galen? You can breathe under there?
And he he looks at Ari and goes, I can breathe underwater. And then he like darts his eyes back to Leon and is like, yeah. You remember the fish? Yeah, that was me.
That was you?
The fish?
Yeah.
What do you mean the fish?
Can't say.
No fish.
Chris, it's better that you don't know. No, I wouldn't worry. At this point, what's done is done. We're not going to rehash that.
I quite agree. There was no fish. What do you mean?
And Chris kind of like looks between the three of them and looks at Galen like, yo, you gonna tell me later or?
I'll tell you when you're older, Gris.
Excuse me, young man. I am older than you, actually. But okay.
And I'm older than you, so I beg you to drop it.
All right,
like,
so
but you're an elf. So are you really that old, Ari?
Yes, I am.
So I think at this point, Chris is just over it, and she's like sat down and she's taking off her really nice foot wraps, kind of realizing that they're making a trek through the forest, and she kind of folds them up nicely and places them in her bag. And as she does that, she remembers the chicken of the woods mushroom and turns to the party and says, a snack, perhaps?
Yes. Leon's like, yes, hands down, absolutely.
Okay. All right, so do you prepare it or you just give your friends pieces of mushroom?
No, I want to prepare it. I'm gonna cast my cantrip, create bonfire.
Okay.
And make a bonfire, and I immediately kind of sit down and start roasting some fucking shrooms.
So my question for you, Jenny, is after carrying Galen for so long, is Leon tired?
You just need a snack.
Cool.
Okay.
Are there any beasts in this lake?
No, there's some fish.
Okay.
This is a perfectly benign lake.
Okay.
Cool. You love a perfectly benign
It's
lake.
not like a secret, like, primordial lake or anything?
No, this is just a lake.
Okay.
Lake.
Okay, Galen.
You're in a forest. It's just a forest. It's just a lake. This lake was a side venture.
Well, you know, I'm a rogue. I have to be suspicious.
Acting sus.
So Grace is kind of humming away, making her chicken of the woods. We'll say it's ready for the sake of time.
Yeah.
And slowly hands it out to her crew.
It's just one mushroom that you cut into 4 pieces. Just
Yo,
a heads up.
Chicken of the woods is a big mushroom.
I know,
It's
but like,
huge.
I feel like I should clarify.
Yeah. So we're having our big ass chunks of chicken of the woods. And Gris is happily munching and chomping away and kind of looks up as she's chomping, hoping that the rest of the party is doing the same.
Mm-hmm.
We are.
He's like pacing along the shore, like eating his mushroom, and then he crouches down, sticks his hand in the water, and snaps his finger, and grabs a fish and just bites into it.
Sounds like, Galen, are you not?
Is that your sibling or something, though?
No, it's just a fish. It's just a fish. It's just a fish.
Chris is like, you can't ask people that, Ari.
Gosh, it's a valid question.
He's like, Gale looks over at Ari and he like flashes his teeth and he's like, as long as I still got these for the time being, I'm gonna use them, and then bites into the fish again.
Gris is once again jaw dropped. Can't believe these teeth. Is shook.
What kind of time is it? Can I just like look at this guy and maybe suggest we make this a mobile snack?
Yes.
I was just gonna say that. Yeah.
It's afternoon.
Cool. Then I just go, well, this was delicious, Gris. But considering it's quite plentiful, I suggest we make this a mobile snack before we lose the daylight.
Gris kind of nods and starts putting out the fire and packing up her things and all that good stuff, and says, "All right, let's head out."
I just turn to Galen and say, "I trust you don't need assistance this time."
No, I feel great.
Cool.
All right,
wonderful. Because I don't think I have it in me to carry you anymore, Galen.
You continue onwards, following Ari. Along the winding path, the occasional footpath leads off into the surrounding thicket of brambles and trees, but the main path that Ari is leading you down remains the only truly navigable route through the woods. Occasionally, a wood elf will peer out from behind a tree, glowering at you as you pass by. You pass over the border of the Sea of Trees in the early evening, without much interference. There are no bandits in these woods. It's protected by the wood elves and fae and dryads and druids who call it home. And however, as you cross over to the human side, the air is thick with an odd tension. This is kind of along the border, the area where the racial conflicts of the world between elf and human meets its sort of peak. The wood elves on one side of the border, where you just came from, treat the humans as invaders, and the humans treat their fae counterparts with outward hostility, if not violence. Mm-hmm. The path, however, does widen slightly so that the party members, all of you, may walk together in step. You pass through the occasional human village as you get through. However, you are following Ari. Ari!
Yes?
You lead your friends into a clearing that is hauntingly familiar.
Yeah.
It sends a sort of chill down your spine. There are mushrooms growing from the roots of the trees that surround you, and a stream runs somewhere nearby. It sounds, to your ears, almost like a woman's laughter. To your left is an unused footpath, wide enough for one person, but it's overgrown, almost as if no one has taken it in a long while. Uh-huh. And next to it is a small pile of rocks. Though many years have not been kind to this makeshift cairn, 3 rocks remain balanced on one another, right by this small footpath.
All right. I just look around and I can hear the stream, and I just take a moment and go, really had hoped I dreamt it, but I think we're getting close. I turn to them.
Is this it, or is...
No, see that this pile, we'll have to, well, squeeze and it'll, just be careful walking, just, okay. It's fine.
Ari, can I get a perception check?
Yeah. (19 + 4 = 23).
So you have never seen this path before, but the cairn reminds you of someone.
Gotcha.
And you look a little bit closer, and there appears to be a small velvet bag next to it that's been worn with time, and whatever is inside is long gone.
Cool. All right, so as I approach the cairn, I see this velvet bag, and I just feel it probably looks like just kind of collapsed in, and just when like everything is like all the air has left my body, and I just kind of kneel down next to it, and I pick it up, and I just like feel it in my hands for a second.
Sorry, what is that?
Nothing. It just reminded me of someone.
Can I get everyone to roll a perception check?
Yes.
All right, you had a 23?
Yeah.
All right, yes. So you've never seen the footpath before. You're not even sure it was here the last time you were here.
Yeah.
Mine is 8 + 2, 10.
13.
4. I rolled a critical failure.
Okay, so you rolled a 1. All right, so Galen, you are too busy trying to pick fish bones out of your teeth to really notice anything. Leon, you've noticed that Ari is upset. You don't really see much. Gris, you do notice that Ari is upset, but you are more preoccupied with this path that they're next to. You've spent a lot of time in the woods, and it seems like it was well worn for a while, and it no longer is.
Mm-hmm.
So Gris kind of is peeking down the path and trying to figure it out, and she's like, it seems like nobody's been here for quite a while. That seems strange considering how worn the path is.
Without even looking up, I go, I don't think it was even here last time I was here. So I don't know where it could possibly lead.
Ari, what is that? What is that? What is that pouch? What's going on?
I don't bother answering, and I just kind of fold it up and tuck it, like in my waistband or something, and I put a hand on the cairn and just like I'm completely ignoring Leon.
I mean,
Can I
like
roll
Leon's existent.
Insight to see if I might have recognized it based on my black market ventures.
You don't even have to roll insight. It has nothing to do with any of that.
Okay.
No.
I was like, Ari, did you hear me? I can repeat myself if I
Yes,
need
I
to.
heard you.
So then, what's the sitch?
I
What is that?
told you, didn't I? I said it reminded me of someone, and it did.
And Gris kind of like
What
turns
is
to Ari at this moment and is like, you seem to say that a lot. But anyways, should we keep going? Is this the path, you think?
I said, I honestly, this wasn't here. I don't think this was here the last time that I was here.
Gris, would you like to perhaps walk down this path? It doesn't seem particularly long.
Yeah, I think Gris would like to take a little peek.
Would you like to follow her, party members?
Yes.
Yes.
Ari?
Yes, just I stand up, I take a deep breath, and I look behind us like where we just came from, and then I follow.
All right. The path is winding, and the plants underfoot indicate that no one has traveled it in some time. At the end is another clearing. It's relatively dark. There are a tangle of branches overhead that block out most of the sunlight, but in the middle you can make out a mound. It's maybe 5.5 feet long, 3 foot wide, and it is a pile of dirt. On top is a rock.
It's a grave? Do we recognize it as a grave?
You're gonna want to roll a perception check.
Okay, yeah.
All of us?
Yeah, you can all roll it.
Yes.
So my perception is a 4.
18 + 2, 20.
7
Yes,
plus 30.
right.
Go.
With me.
12 + 4, 16.
All right, so Gris, I'm going to start with you. You recognize this as probably a grave, but it could also be something else. You're not particularly familiar with the practices of the humans who live in these woods. Ari, Leon, and Galen, you approach this mound and you recognize it as a grave. There is a rock on top of it, and on the rock is a hastily carved name in common. Next to the rock is a dried and shriveled flower, which has long lost its color. But there's no other indication of this gravesite having been recently visited, as if the person laid to rest here has been purposefully forgotten. Would you like to read the name?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. The name on the grave just says Theodora.
I see this stone, and then I just kind of kneel by it, and then I just stay there, and it seems like not like I'm out of the world.
Leon looks at Galen
Galen looks at Owen.
and then looks down at Ari.
Galen also looks at Ari.
Then looks back at Galen.
Then looks back at Leon.
And then Leon says, Ari.
At this, as they're doing this, like Ari, who has been trying to keep their breathing even, it just starts to pick up and up and up, and like they can't seem to kind of catch their breath.
Yeah, Leon is like,
So Chris-
Ari, you know Theodora? You know this person?
And it just keeps going. I'm still not answering.
I don't think now's the best time to ask that question, Leon.
Chris kind of
Just
like
gonna...
swoops over and like goes to kneel and sit next to Ariadne. It doesn't really say anything, just kind of exists there in the space with them. Maybe like a quick pat or a touch of shoulders, but not much else.
I notice at this I do notice, like I don't hear anything, but I've noticed that she comes down. So I just like without taking my eyes off of this, like this stone and this flower, I like have picked up the flower, I'm holding it in my hand, and I just go, I did tell you the hope was greater than the certainty.
And Gris just kind of like lets out a sigh and just says, "Oh, Ari."
Fine, it's been a long time, darling.
She was someone close to you.
The one closest to me. I'm ignoring Galen and Leon. I'm just talking to Gris.
And Gris
Yeah,
is
we're
like,
just sitting here listening.
Gris is like the closest.
I pull this twine underneath. I like fumble with my hands and I like pull this twine from underneath my my shirt, my tunic. And I just go, and I pull it over my head, and I just hand it, like, and I, with still just not even looking, still just looking at the stone, but I put it in her hand, and I don't take my hand off of hers, like, I let her look at it, but, like, I'm like, this is, like, I don't take my hand off the twine.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just standing there with, like, my hand
So
like this.
I'm kind of looking at it. What am I noticing from this twine?
So you're gonna see that on this, the end of this twine is a wooden, beautiful, like dark wooden ring. And on the outside, it reads, I rest my head at night content, knowing where my marbles went, on the inside.
And Chris,
yeah, and so I just let go of it, and then I just place, like, the flower back. And I stand up.
I think Gris is still kind of kneeling, kind of registering what Ari has implied, maybe not told, but implied, and just like, looks up at them and is immediately just kind of like, I think, overwhelmed, and I think cries. I think Gris would cry for her friend in this instant, and kind of knowing a similar feeling, and just kind of maybe slowly stand up and go to take their hand, and maybe kind of thinking about hugging them or thinking about embracing them, but instead just kind of like make eye contact and just shed tears for her friend.
I did tell you I didn't want to come back.
And Gris says, "Oh, I know, but I'm so grateful for you. We don't have to stay, or would you like time alone?" And Gris just kind of like fumbles over her words, not sure exactly what it is Ari might want in this moment.
I like put out my hand, like expecting the ring back, and to no one in particular, just like, I just need to get somewhere where there's a drink.
And Gris, kind of hands back the ring, and
I just hastily put it, like, I'm fumbling putting it back over my head, like I can't, I'm shaking.
And kind of like squeezes Ari's arm and turns to Leon and
and now I notice the others and just give them like the really meanest of stares. Like, they have done nothing wrong, but they have done absolutely nothing wrong, but still, it's like, if you yeah.
So I think we should find a tavern or something.
Leon, as you are standing there, and you're being stared at meanly, you look down. This is still part of your nat 20 perception check. I'm gonna carry it over here. And you notice that at your feet is growing a single beautiful purple flower.
I'll pick that.
Okay.
And I? Well, should it? Yeah.
You can pick it, yeah.
I'm gonna pick it. I'm gonna take that.
What would you like to do with
What
your
happens
purple
when I pick
flower? Nothing. You have a flower.
One flower.
You have this flower now. Congratulations.
This flower belongs to you. Leon kind of looks at Ari and says, I don't really know. I understand. Probably very angry at me based on that look right there. But you maybe you could take this to kind of carry them with you.
I'm still just staring at them, and I like just soften and go, I wasn't angry at you. I'm sorry. And I'm just looking away. I take the flower, and I look at it. And I go, I give it back, and I say, I think she deserves someone else to pay her respects.
Oh, okay. So Leon hears that, doesn't know how to respond. She's like, okay. Okay.
Seeing
she
that
just
Leon
puts
has
the flower on the stone.
Seeing that Leon is kind of like maybe not knowing exactly what to do. Galen walks
At seeing Leon place it, I like tear. My eyes leak, as they are right now. It is like I wipe them away quickly. You can decide if you want to see if you saw that or not.
Galen, what were you going to
What
do?
was Galen gonna do?
Watching after Leon lays the flower down, Galen unsheaths his dagger, point down, so down towards the ground, takes a knee and holds it over his chest, and says in Primordial,
Ooh.
"Hope you know you haven't been forgotten." And then sheaths his dagger and stands back up and looks at Ari and says, I can tell you what I said if you want to, but or not. But
Sure.
I let them know that they haven't been forgotten about, because it's very clear that this person meant something to you.
Theo. Her name
Theo?
was Theo.
It's clear that Theo was important to you, and judging by your reaction, I can respect that, and I wanted to honor them the way that we do back home in the brigade. And he kind of just looks down at the ground and
I just
shuffles the dirt.
smile at that and just go, well, appreciate you not being an asshole about it. And tried to just laugh it off at that point. I go, you should know the reason for this will become relevant as we head into this territory, and just trying to like go back into like mission mode and just be like,
okay,
this may not be the safest place for all of us, and you need to be prepared.
Okay. Why?
Just like, nope, I am. You think the worst you've seen is that barkeeper who was rude to us? They might kill us.
Well, we did almost die at the soiree.
It's just Leon.
Well,
that was me.
I got pretty banged up. You're not so much. You didn't bite. Remember, you didn't use magic after all. So
fair enough.
No, I remember.
Just at the very least, y'all hide your ears.
And Chris is like, hide your ears.
Y'all know.
Galen at this point is like, all right, yeah, whatever, and like undoes his hair and just lets it.
Cool. So I'm still up, but I just dust myself off, and my hand rests for a moment where I've tucked the velvet thing, and I just like take it off, and then I cross it across my body.
So, are you heading out of the clearing?
I think so. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I am. If y'all.
Is there anything?
Yeah,
else
we're gonna follow
Ari
Ari
for us to see, Jenny. Or have we seen everything?
You've seen everything.
Okay.
you leave the clearing following the same path, and Ari, you cast one last look over your left shoulder, and you realize that this path that had been so overgrown now looks trampled once more, as if people have been visiting this grave site every year since you last saw Theo. And with that, we will be back next week at 6 p.m. MST, 8 p.m. EST for episode 5 here at the Tabletop Tavern.
Hope y'all enjoyed getting emotional with us.
We felt things.
Is everyone okay?
Yeah.
We need a moment.
Thank you to Foch for the gift sub, and thank you to Owl for the raid. And
thank you,
we'll see you next week for hopefully a less emotional episode, but we'll see. I still have to rate it, so
we all need therapy.
yeah, we're gonna go do a little a player check-in and circle of healing, but
we're gonna have a little therapy session. Yeah.
But yes, we will be back.
Congratulations to everyone who got bingo.
Yeah. We
Hope
will
it was fun.
be posting this episode and last week's episode on the YouTube and on our podcast soon if you want to rewatch or catch up on anything that you missed from this episode. And if you haven't followed already, be sure to do so that you can catch our next episodes live and any reruns that we'll be running next week. So, yeah. Thank you for being here.
Thank you guys so much for watching.
We love you. Thank you
so much for suffering with us.
Good night.
Good night, friends.